Just make sure this all gets in there. It's a little porcupine. It says, "It's just a little poke. Give blood, save the humans." It's the shirt they give you for giving blood, and I take those shirts so I can virtue signal. I even leave the bandage on all day. Oh, you gave blood? Yes, I did. How's this for a title? EVS calls Doug Tennapel a war profiteer for donating comics to the troops. Yes, really? Okay, dog, right in the way. You know, let me just cut to the punchline right at the start. Here's how you fix this. You say, "Oh, hey, you know what? I got angry. I said some silly things, but I'm going to double Doug's donation to the troops. Sorry, guys, I meant no disrespect. I just lost my temper because Doug and I have some personal issues. Let's move on." That's how easy it is. Problem solved. If you want to support the channel, click the links. Ammo, drugs, and ladies of negotiable affection don't pay for themselves. And I don't know if you've been keeping track of Comicsgate, but if you haven't, then consider yourself lucky. The day before St. Valentine's Day, everything got really, really dark. I kind of don't want anything to do with it anymore. Just stick to pop culture and politics. There are plenty of cringy mainstream comics, films, and shows to laugh about without delving into Comicsgate cancer. I don't know the trend in films, but comics and Netflix, Amazon, Disney, they're going to stay woke. There is no putting that genie back in the bottle. If you think Birds of Prey taught them a lesson about feminism in films, forget it. They don't care about money. It's mostly propaganda. You know, there's a saying, "They shouldn't have given you censored the internet." I have to admit the gentleman has a point. Live streams allow people to be way too accessible. Distance is good. Mostly, like 90% of the problem is Twitter. Twitter turns these bald old farts into petty teenage girls on their period. Giving books to the troops is a nice gesture. Visiting them and taking pictures is a pretty normal thing to do. You can't complain that Doug is breaking his arm, patting himself on the back. Everybody donates books to the troops. It's just a nice gesture to guys who have some downtime. Or in it, oh, I don't even know if I want to include this joke anymore. Or in this case, he donated to the Air Force. So I don't know if they really count as the military. Just kidding, guys. Don't carpet bomb me. Sorry for that. I know you guys are fighting Doug and EVS, but how are you going to make Doug the bad guy for giving comic books to soldiers? Oh, well, I was going to say now I won't name names, but I guess I already did. But why aren't you giving books to the troops? Don't you think they'd enjoy a copy of Cyberfrog? Doug does something nice for the guys in the military, and he gets attacked for it. How does that make Doug the bad guy? He had a tear for the soldiers, and he had a goal that fell short, and he made up the difference out of his own pocket. I'm surprised at the people who attacked him. I assumed that they would know how incredibly bad it makes them look. They called him a war profiteer for donating comic books to the troops. I heard the clip on Twitter where they called him that, and then they laughed. You know, I wasn't a fan of his because he's so smug and intolerant about any religious belief that differed from his in the slightest. And he is a smuggy smugless, but he isn't malicious. The people laughing at him were malicious. I joke about smugless, but he donated comics to the troops. I didn't do anything. I guess that's not exactly true, but you know what I'm saying. Two things can simultaneously be true. He can be a smuggy smugless and still be a nice guy doing good deeds. SJWs do a thing where if they don't like a person, they'll cancel him. They'll interpret every act in a negative light. But we aren't SJWs. People are nuanced. I criticize EVS all the time, but I also give him credit for helping fund a lot of first-time creators. Mike was going off on EVS and said something off the cuff about EVS not giving to charity. I reminded him that EVS had donated and helped raise money for two charities that I remember. I still have them bookmarked on my Chrome. One of them was a comic book artist in need, and I think he donated $500, and then he got his chat to donate several $1,000s. And I forget the other charity was. But those are just two that I remember, and I definitely wasn't watching every show. So you got to give credit where credit is due. You can't just blindly lash out at people. We must be fair. I help those in need, people of all types. Does it mean I'm a great person? Well, yes, in this case it does, but people are more complicated than that. I will help people while telling istophobic jokes because that's my truth. See, I can talk like a bundle of sticks also. SJWs don't see nuance. The world is a binary for them. It's us and them. We call ourselves anti-fascists, so that de facto makes people we attack fascists, right? Even gay Asians and Jews and whoever else, women and children, they're all Nazis. No, kids, you guys are acting like literal Nazis. You're doing exactly what the brown shirts were doing. And the beer hall people, they would break up free speech events. They would break up meetings. You guys are them. You're the Nazis. Congratulations. So it's a mistake to try to capitalize on every act of your opponent because people are rarely pure evil. You got to pick your battles, and attacking Doug for giving books to soldiers is not the hill you want to die on. It makes you look petty. SJWs are petty. Don't deplatform, don't mess with people's money, and don't talk about people's family. Don't threaten to call Child Protective Services because a kid is upset about a burning book, then a second later laughing and throwing stickers onto the fire. That's what kids do. Those of you with kids knows it's just a kid crying about a toy. It's not a big deal. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have burned it. I would have sent it to your old pal Bianca to be read first. Hell, you could have a whole Comicsgate mailing list where people just mail comics to each other, stuff you don't collect. Just mail it in an envelope. It's just a reading copy, not a collector's item. I will start everyone off. You can mail me all your comics that you don't want. I'll read them and I'll mail them to other people. Trust me when I say I don't have room on my bookshelves. In fact, I had bookshelves built on top of my bookshelves because I ran out of space. Let's get another shot here. I wanted to mention the importance of your splash page on IndieGoGo, and I'm going to use this Napalm Brothers as an example because the comic looks good, so this is in no way a diss. This comic is definitely a recommend. I like the vibe, and for me, it's my kind of thing. So don't get your nose bent out of shape. The only minor criticism is the wording on the intro page. You should be writing and rewriting, editing, and having people review it for you. Go through a dozen other campaigns, look at the intros that grab your attention and which ones don't. In my own experience, I know that a good thumbnail and title can get hundreds of views. It's a small channel after all. And a bad one can get a few dozen. That's the difference a thumbnail makes. It's the same thing with your splash page. It's what people see first. If it's written poorly, then that means the comic is probably also written poorly, and you absolutely cannot have grammatical errors or typesetting errors. Less is more. You want a short, punchy statement. Read it yourself. Ask, does anything not need to be here? Basically, I'm saying you need to spend way more time on the splash page. Okay, so when you click on this site, you get a video to watch. I think there's a bunch of videos. That's fine. And then it shows you the tiers, and it starts off digital, $5. I don't know how many people are into digital. Probably not many. Physical copy is $10. Shipping's probably $5. And I don't know how detailed. I don't know. I hate to say this with comic book aficionados out there, but I don't know how. I mean, not every book is a collector's item. It's just usually a lot of books are just reading copies. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you really need to go overboard on like bulletproof shipping? I know that's going to trigger a lot of people, but I mean, not all books are in the same category is what I'm saying. Okay, so this is the first writing you get. The 70s are back. That's good because it tells you it's set in Vietnam, that kind of thing. But actually, now that I think about it, I probably would have opened with this image first because this image shows more than anything. It says, okay, this is the 1970s. I see the chopper. I see the ex-Vietnam dudes. When you see a black girl with an afro, it's like that's even better than a white girl because, well, it's very unique to a time period in history when black chicks had that kind of hairstyle. I guess with white chicks, you'd have to do like the straight. They did the straight blonde hairstyle. They did like love beads and that kind of stuff. But this is like this chick says, and she got titties. That's a good thing too. Says this is like 1970. Veteran on the chopper. It's cool. It's a cool vibe. Guy with an M60. I don't know if that's quite drawn correctly, but I don't know. expert on that. And a big ape in the background. Okay, so this image tells you way more than this does. This is one long paragraph. It probably needs to be broken up and indented. This one long paragraph, you need to go over this and go over it. It needs to be absolutely perfect. This is this first like 5 seconds of what they see on your IndieGoGo page is absolutely critical. And then the second paragraph here, I'm going to read it. He says, "Who are we? The book was done entirely by Six Scale Combat, who we will call Six for short. He wrote the story, did all the artwork and the colors. Greystone Press will be shipping the books, and we're excited to be working with Six." You can just excise that whole paragraph. I'm not trying to dunk on you. I would write that, something similar to that, and it would sound great in my head. And the thing is, the difference of what sounds great in your head, and you got to read it aloud, and then you got to have someone else read it aloud. You can just do away with that whole paragraph. It's kind of awkward. It's just not necessary. The book is already finished. You might want to lead with that in boldface. I don't know if can you boldface. Say like the book, the 70s are. Oh yeah, you can boldface. Okay, the 70s are back. The book is already finished. That's awesome. That means the book is ready for print. That kind of thing. And this whole paragraph is this whole long paragraph is just awkwardly written, and it looks like that is a formatting error with the space before the what is that, an apostrophe. You got to go over this. It's got to be perfect. You might want to have stuff in bold. You know, with the, it looks like you almost tried to make it in bold with the hypertext markup. Anyway, I'm trying not to be too much of a dick, because I'm saying this is like 90% there. If the comic looks good, everything looks good. It's just this one intro paragraph. You gotta give it to someone to edit, give it to someone to write and rewrite. People do it for free. I mean, you might have to find like 10 people to have one person who will do it for free. There are people in the Comicsgate community who will at least rewrite this one paragraph for you. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. If you just want to support the channel, go ahead. Click the links. You can give me a coffee at the coffee site. That's really cool. People have donated, or Patreon, PayPal, Cash App, or most importantly, if you don't want to send money, which I totally understand, send me a little bit of art on biancazombie602@gmail.com. I love looking at art. I don't care if it's cutesy wootsy or grim and graphic, you know, cross machine guns and skull and crossbones and zombies and that kind of stuff. I like that kind of stuff. But I mean, if you want to draw like a little Hello Kitty with a bullet hole in her head, and I don't know, Bianca fights the zombies underneath it, that'd be cool too. Anyway, guys, I will see you all next episode.